Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to have you all here. I'm Ankita Sagar. I am the co-chair for the New York Early Career Physician Task Force. And I am lucky to have my co-chair, Dr. Gambier. I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to see you all. I am also fortunate to co-chair this Early Career Task Force with Ankita. So welcome again. And we have our esteemed panel of governors who will be talking to us. So we will, and we have Karen with us, who we have a full team. So we will be, Ankita, you want to introduce and start the conversation with all our 7 esteemed panelists?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Javier. So I am going to just go right across the screen. I have Dr. John Hall, who is our governor from New York Upstate. Take it away, Dr. Hall.
Little tiny correction. Dr. Algaes is the governor for Upstate.
Sorry, I knew I was going to make an error today.
I'm governor-elect.
Governor-elect. There you go.
So for a few more months, I guess. Right. So in case you guys don't know that, actually, when we're talking about who holds what positions in terms of governors of various regions, the offices switch over after the national meeting. So Leslie's our Upstate governor until the end of the national meeting, and then I pick up. Anyway, I'm the governor-elect for Upstate, which is a pretty big region. It goes from the western end of the state over to the Hudson Valley, where I bump up against Dr. Pomeranz. And I work at the Jacobs School of Medicine in Buffalo. I'm an associate professor in medicine and in OBGYN. So in addition to my primary care practice in medicine, I also practice obstetric medicine, where I do consult work for high-risk pregnancies for babies, and do teaching in both the medicine residency and the OBGYN residency.
Dr. Hall. Next up is Dr. Simon.
Oh, wow. Hi, everybody. We've got 31 people here already. This is fantastic. I'm Todd Simon. I am the governor-elect for Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island here at the ACP. I am a general internist by trade and by training. But mostly what I do at this point is I'm the program director for internal medicine at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital here in Brooklyn. And I'm also the chief academic officer and DIO of the hospital. So I have some oversight responsibilities for actually all the residency and fellowship programs here and all the medical student programs here as well. I'm a primary care guy. I still do that, but just 1 day a week. And that's probably more than enough. So welcome.
Thanks, Dr. Simon. I have Dr. Pomeranz next on my Jeopardy board here.
Okay. I'll take Hudson Valley for 200. So I'm a general internist. I trained in primary care at NYU, and I have been in New Rochelle at the local hospital, which was once upon a time Sound Shore Medical Center, and for the last 8 years has been part of the Montefiore network. I do a mix of general medicine and palliative care. I'm an associate program director with one nurse practitioner. I run the palliative care service and chair the ethics committee for our local ethics committee, and I sit on the Montefiore bioethics committee. I guess we'll talk about ACP stuff later.
Thank you. Dr. Lee, our governor from New York, Long Island.
Hello, wow, this is really impressive, the number of early careers that we have. And thank you to Ankita and Harveer for hosting and Karen for organizing everything. My name is Susan Lee. I'm the governor from the Long Island district. I graduated from NYU School of Medicine. I was in the same class as Dr. Simon, so we're very close. I did my residency at New York Hospital Cornell, where I was an assistant chief resident. And after residency, I went into private practice for 3 years up in Rockland County. And after that stint, I ended up at Stony Brook on faculty, and that was in 1997. So you can do the math and try and figure out how old I am. I'm still in, I'm not a baby boomer. I'm Gen X, the oldest in Gen X. But I've been on faculty at Stony Brook since 1997. I've worn many different hats. Right now, I'm the medical director of Stony Brook Primary Care, which is our large faculty teaching practice. And I also lead the activities for medical home and ambulatory QI. And I've been involved in ACP for a long time, and I'm so happy to be able to talk to you guys about it.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Dr. Bermacher, our governor from Manhattan.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Ankita and Harveer, for organizing this. Just a point of correction, Bronx is also included under my portfolio, last time I checked. So I represent the most densely, I would say, populous region of the Bronx, Manhattan and Bronx, as I said. I think maximum number of medical schools, residency programs, if not in state, perhaps in the country. And I am PGY 25 this year. I trained at SBH Health System. We are still the independent health system in the Bronx. I was a chief resident, and I've never been for a job interview so far. By training, of course, internal medicine, and I did my master's in health management and policy at New York Medical College when I was in third year and chief residency. I've done a number of leadership role at my health system, from managed care to medical informatics side, and now I'm on the darker side of technology as a systems senior vice president and chief information officer. And I do practice medicine every day as a part-time hospitalist, mostly on the chronic ventilator floor, hospice, and addiction medicine units. Apart from interaction with residency, I do have some mentoring role for a couple of data analytics and local community college on informatics and business intelligence through Fordham University, Monroe College and Lehman College in the Bronx. And regarding ACP, I think we'll go more further in details later on, how I started and what I do currently at ACP.
Thank you, Dr. Bermacher. My oversight. I'm still learning about the details.
Don't worry.
Let's see, I can get Dr. Mehta, our governor from Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island, if I can. I hope that's correct.
Harveer, you're absolutely right. And as I usually mention, that I want to be recognized as Parag, and that's it. Position comes and goes. Ultimately, it's a personal relationship which continues. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the governor for the Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island. I'm also so on the different committees of ACP. I'm the president-elect for the Medical State Society, and I'm the delegate for the AMA. As far as my practice is concerned, I'm still practicing full-time internal medicine, both inpatient and outpatient, every day. I am the Senior Vice Chair, Department of Medicine at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. I'm the Chief Medical Information Officer for the New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist. And as far as my education goes, somehow I have done everything in the world possible which I can think of, and whenever somebody has asked me or challenged me, so I started with engineering school. From there, I went to the medical school and did the OBGYN. After that, I did the internal medicine here. I did the courses in the nutrition medicine, HIT, health information technology, and artificial intelligence, which Jitendra challenged me, and I did it with him. I have certification in integrative medicine, hospice and palliative care medicine, and I just give the board on information technology. So I don't know, whatever comes on the way, I have enjoyed, and I will stop at this moment for you to ask questions. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Mehta. And we next have Dr. Leslie Algaes, who is our esteemed president for NYACP, as well as now, from what I hear, a regent to be very soon.
Yes, thank you, Ankita. And it's so nice to see all of you. I know that everybody has to be multitasking because everybody's up to their eyeballs in work right now. But if you have a chance during this meeting, if you can at least let us see your face for a few minutes, that would be really nice, because when we finally get back together in person, it would be nice to know each other. Anyway, my name is Leslie Algaes. I'm only the president of the chapter because Parag and I are the outgoing governors. We're going to be replaced very competently by John and Todd. And in your last year as governor, you become the president of the chapter because somebody has to sort of corral this group every year. It happens to be a close group that is incredibly enjoyable. My background is I trained in Rochester, and I did most of my med school under a health profession scholarship through the military. So after I finished my residency, I went into the Air Force. And when I came, and during my stint at the Air Force, I had my 2 children. So I say they both have an Uncle Sam. And after I had my kids, we wanted to move back closer to home. My family's from Buffalo. And so we moved back to Rochester, and I joined a private practice. I became board certified in geriatrics as well as internal medicine, and have done primary care and geriatrics with some nursing home medicine for pretty much all of my career. We had a private practice for over 30 years, and my partner recently retired, so we sold our practice to the University of Rochester. So I now am the site medical director of an employed practice at the University of Rochester. Everybody's giving away their PGY status, and I can tell you that I am now qualified to be the only one on this call to experience single payer care because I now qualify for Medicare. So that was just last week. Anyway, thank you, Ankita, for organizing this, and Javier, it's a wonderful session. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Algaes. Javier, I'm wondering if you want to start us off with some questions.
So, thank you all governors for the great introduction. We and Ankita were talking about how did you initiate when you had the first relation or partnership with NYACP or ACP? What was the first thing you did? So maybe we can, I think we have 7 governors, so maybe we can start with 1 and we can have more questions. Or if we have our audience who wants to engage and ask questions, feel free to put in the chat. We can ask those questions to our governor. So I want to just pose this question to so I'll not call Dr. Mehta, I'll call Parag, because he said that's what I love at NYACP, make it comfortable. So I'm going to pose this to Parag. See, how did this started?
So Harvey, I was a resident, and it was not ACP. It started with ASIM, American Society of Internal Medicine. So there used to be ACP and ASIM, 2 different groups. One of my attending calls me and he said that, Parag, you need to go for this ACP, ASIM meeting. And in the PGY1, you are totally exhausted. In those days, we used to do like 36-hour call, usually multiple admission. And I said, do I have to go? He said, yeah, you have to go. It's Saturday. I said, okay, I'll go. But I'm post-call. He said, yes, you can go post-call, but you cannot go in the scrub. I said, what happened? It's an athletic club on Manhattan and you have to go in the suit. I said, okay. So I hated it, that I'm post-call and I had to go to this meeting. I don't know what will be happening in the meeting. And that was my first time when actually I was in that meeting. If people know Hank Chaudhary, who is right now the president of FSMB, right? He was there, and then few other people were there. So Hank Chaudhary became the president of Young Physician after that. And then I became the resident fellow section after that. So that was the beginning. And in that ASIM, the merger happened between the ASIM and ACP. So obviously, by that time, I was the member of ASIM and ACP because we have to do the MKSAP. So that was the beginning. And then, believe it or not, E&M coding was non-existent. They came in 1995. So that is the time, as a resident post-call, I'm sleeping but learning this E&M coding. Most of the meeting I attended to Albany and other places as post-call. And never looked back. Every single time people have welcomed it, mentored me. ASIM also had one more thing, that you always go with the family. Meetings are only for half day and entire group will go together for the activities or to visit the cities. So whether it was Rhode Island or Washington, I still remember the very nice way the people have treated me. I said one thing which became later on the norm, that ACP is a family. And that's how I was being treated and that's how I feel. And that's why I will continue to be in the ACP. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I was, before this meeting, when we met for our logistics, and was talking to Karen and Ankita, that when I was introduced to ACP when, I met Karen as an in-person judge, and that's how I started building the network and starting to know everybody. So once I met people in person, that's how I started building my network and knowing this family. And it was, you absolutely said it right, this is family. And, I have grown and I have expanded my family members. So it's an excellent place to be. So I would ask, pose this question to John. So he also said, be comfortable, not call me Dr. Hall. And so what suggestions you have for our early career champions, how to expand, how to network, how to expand building the network?
Sure. That's actually a much more difficult thing in this day of Hollywood squares that we play now, but on Zoom calls. But I think that even with that, I think it can be done quite effectively. And I know that Parag was just talking about how he began his career in leadership in ACP, and part of that began for me was actually in that same arena with networking. I don't know if Karen remembers, but it's actually Karen's fault I'm here. Because one of my colleagues in Buffalo, John Selleck, who is an ID specialist, he was receiving the laureate award from the New York ACP one year, and he called me up and said, "Hey, they're giving me this award, and I want you to come with me, and they'll feed you dinner." So I said, "I'll take free dinner. That's fine." And the first thing that John did when I got to the meeting was exactly that. Started networking and introducing me to people, letting folks know who I am and what I'm interested in. And one of the people that he brought me over to see was Karen, and he says, "Karen, this is John Hall. He'll do good stuff. Make sure you get him involved with something." So I ended up getting put on the, or I ended up volunteering for the member engagement committee, and that was one of my first New York ACP activities that I did, and have made a lot of connections since. Actually, through networking, I've actually had an opportunity to even get considered for a writing, exam question writing and the ABIM exam for obstetric medicine questions too. And those kind of opportunities wouldn't come along without being able to network through an organization like this.
Aww.
Did you remember that, Karen, or not?
Yes, I do.
There you go.
And we haven't let you go since. Suzanne was with you too, right? I think.
Yes, Suzanne was with me too, yes.
Yeah, see, we are a family. We know all the spouses. So.
Karen likes my wife better than me, so it's okay.
She's great. No,
most people do.
No, you guys are awesome. We're very lucky to have you. Thank you both.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
No problem.
I think we have a great question in the chat, and I want to direct this to both Dr. Lee and Dr. Pomeranz. Any advice on balancing and prioritizing time, especially when it comes to career advancement and balancing like the work-life integration that tends to happen for all of us? How do you go about doing that?
Well, I'll just say that I became involved in ACP, similar story to Parag. My program director, Joseph Hayes at the time. Well, I knew about ACP through Dr. Greco, because when I was in medical school, he used to talk about primary care and ACP. And actually I was so impressed by him, I became a primary care physician, but it was Dr. Hayes who assigned me post-call to go to some ACP resident event. And that's how I got involved in ACP. I went as a resident representative for a program. But I would say I'm probably a little unusual in that I've been more involved in ACP as my kids got older. But one thing I got appreciated about the New York chapter in particular is that it offered local events that I didn't have to travel like across the country to attend. I could, do it locally. And that for me was important as a young mother. The other thing I also appreciated is that the events through the chapter are very family friendly. So I've been able to bring my family, my spouse, my kids came to West Point when we had our leadership meeting there. So I really appreciated that. And also I appreciated that other people brought their families. And I think the one thing about New York ACP that I learned, and maybe this is just a piece of advice, is that you don't need to do everything at once, right? You can work your way up slowly. There are times when you'll say yes to a lot of things, and other times when you turn things down. Actually, Dr. Mehta, I remember sitting next to you at a leadership event, and we were talking, and you said to me, I told him that I turned down a lot of things that are offered to me in terms of leadership at my institution. And Dr. Mehta said to me, you should try everything once. You should say yes to everything when the time is right. And so I took that advice, and I think that has led me to many great things. So, but one thing I really appreciate about NYACP is the ability to engage when it was a good time for me and my family.
That was very well said. Thank you. Dr. Pomeranz, I want to ask you the same question.
So, my journey to ACP started a little bit later. My residency program sort of pushed me into SGIM the way many people here got pushed into ACP. I'd always been a member of ACP, but hadn't been really very active in ACP until a little bit later. I actually sort of came in sideways through the program directors of internal medicine meeting. The New York interest group always had a summer meeting with all the program directors, and I started going to that. And the executive director of ACP, who at that time was Linda Lambert, would do a policy update every summer. And people who know me, won't find it surprising that I voiced opinions about things. And Linda was many things. She was an excellent lobbyist. She was an executive director. She was a great talent scout. And I think I'm one of the last ACP leaders that Linda recruited. And when I say Linda recruited me, that meant I said no a lot and she kept asking.
No, same here, Dan. Linda would always ask me to do leadership things, and I said no many times, but she's very persistent.
She
and
is.
You pick up the phone, and she's the one that recruited me too. She scouted me.
Right.
You guys are incredibly strong if you can say no to Linda Lambert. I've never been able to.
Only by phone. It wasn't in person.
Right, only by phone.
And I think once it was only an email. It's like she was giving me that one so that I'd have to say yes when she really asked. But what that meant was I started with ACP a little bit later, but I got really involved later on. It was also after I'd gone through a sort of a fallow period where I was really paying more attention to work and family, and I wasn't doing a lot of leadership stuff outside of work. And that's really worked for me. I've had different phases where I was much more active and engaged in different things. And I think realizing that I didn't have to do everything all at once has made it easier to do a lot of different things. I've been incredibly fortunate. I have my spouse is also a physician, but we have things that make things work at home. So if we need to be away from home, we got everything covered. And that makes things a lot easier. And that's not the case for everybody. I think one of the things I would say is find something you're really interested in, that it's worth making some trade-offs for. Don't really think about sacrifices. If you're sacrificing something, you're not getting it back. But if you can trade something for something else and you're willing to make the trade, make the trade. But don't give something up to get this. Do this if it seems like it's worth doing, if it's an and. And I guess that's the thing. And the only, I can't call it a silver lining, but the proliferation of remote meetings means it's easier to do, the barriers to entry to doing something are lower. Arguably some of the payoffs may feel a little bit lower, but let's be honest, we couldn't have people from all over the state come together like this in person without it being a big deal. And tonight's wonderful. And I'm really excited to be, sitting in front of my computer talking to everybody, and it isn't a big deal, right? We didn't have to travel hundreds of miles to be together. And there's something good about that. If we can, at an appropriate time, travel and actually be together. I'm really looking forward to those in-person meetings again, but there's a lot of statewide stuff we're doing now that we hadn't done before. And I think there's good in that. And I'm going to try to hold on to that every time I get, every time the rantometer starts getting up to here with COVID stuff, I have to remind myself about this other stuff that, all right, you can bring it down at least a notch because we've learned some stuff that we wouldn't have even explored otherwise. But what that means is you can get involved in stuff a little bit more easily. Taste it. If it tastes good, go back for more. If it doesn't taste good, go try something else. And within ACP, especially within the New York chapter, the buffet is full. So go find the part you like and get involved. If it's health policy, do health policy. If it's ethics, do ethics. If it's career development, do early career physicians. If it's education, we've got a medical student committee, we've got a medical education, we got all the committees. And if we don't have the committee and you want to start one, come talk to us. We're open to, we want to meet the needs of the members. And so, just let us know and I'll stop talking there.
Thank you so much.
Jan put, I know Jan.
Yep.
I actually, where is Jan? He's on my screen. Oh, there he is. Hey. So Jan actually asked how trainees can be more active in ACP. So I would recommend you go on our website and actually take a look at the website, and you'll see all the different, you'll see under leadership, all of our names and our contacts. And then go under committees and you'll see all the different committees and task force and what's going on. And if you have an interest in a certain area, just reach out to the governor. Like, one good thing about being a governor in this chapter is we know lots of people, so we can connect you with what your interests are in. So just for an example, Ankita and I, we got very interested in women in medicine, and we wanted to start programs, so we started that together. And then Harveer has these wonderful residents that we have been networking with. So the possibilities really are out there. You just have to take a look and then reach out. We can connect you with the right people. But that was a really good question.
Thank you so much. Parag, you have raised hands. I want to make sure.
Yeah, I raised the hand. Very, very, very important question. And I will ask everyone to pay attention to that question. Answer could be different. But when someone is asking question about the family versus ACP, I did mention that ACP is your family. But if I have to answer and you asking me question, my answer is straightforward, that the most important thing is you and your family. Never give up that portion. And I can tell you because I had. And that is one of the best advice I ever got from Dr. Mascatello. I never took any vacation. I was staying there all the time. And he stopped me that, why are you not taking any vacation? And that was many, many years. And I said, who will take care of my patients? And many more discussion. And he told me that you blink your eyes, your kids will be in college, you won't see them. So what I learned from there are multiple things. One is that the family comes first. You must spend some time with your family, take vacation. And one more important thing, that we need to learn to pause, because you just keep working, working, and working. So that is the one of the question. I think it's one of the best question you're asking. Ask yourself. And then what I decided, that wherever I go for the conference, my wife, even though she's OBGYN, she will register for the ACP and we will go together. We will go together before the conference or after the conference. And as soon as my conference starts, they will leave. So that's how we have visited most of the places. Entire family will go, family will return, and I'll start my conference, whether it is AMA or whether it's any kind of studies. And that's how I have gone to Hawaii and Mexico and Washington or San Francisco. But that's one question. Second question is already answered, and that is about how to get involved. This is the first step you're doing in the pandemic. This is what I taught my kids also, that embrace the change. Don't try to resist, and that is the best part. And then I saw that somebody is asking the third question, Harvinder, that looking back, right? What is the right path of the career advancement? I'll wait for someone else to answer, and then I will give my views. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yeah, that question I want to ask Dr. Bermacher, Dr. Simon, and Dr. Algaes to give their. I'm going to read that question. It was a big question. I'll put it in the chat. Let me go back to make sure I do not. So looking back at your successful and admirable career, what are the couple of things that you did early in your career that you think will be helpful for early career physicians to guide them on the right path of career advancement? So I'll start with Dr. Bermacher, and then I'll go to Dr. Simon and Dr. Algaes.
Sure. So I think that's a very good question. So for me, my professional career advancement at the health system and the ACP was in parallel or in tandem. So when I was chief resident and became attending, I was very fortunate that I had been member for 4 years. And I was asked to go to Philadelphia to develop curriculum on patient safety. And some of you may recall the Crossing the Quality Chasm had just released after the first patient safety book from Institute of Medicine on To Err is Human. And I think during those days, the patient safety movement was started in US. So I was very fortunate, one of 8 across the country. We developed 2 patient safety curriculum. And at the same time, I was doing some very early on patient safety work at the hospital. So again, not only gaining the local knowledge, but I was very fortunate to have the working at the national level. After a few years, I had some role in my health system in the insurance plan or Medicaid managed care plan. At the same time, I was again very fortunate that National requested me to join Patient-Centered Medical Home and Accountable Care Organization Task Force, looking at the payment reform. And again, I was very fortunate to join that group and advise CMS and other governmental and regulatory organizations that how practice transformation through PCMH and ACO can help the physicians. So again, the more I had progressed in my own career, I always found something at the ACP, which has not only helped me to be more educated, but also enhanced my network. And as you all know, I love technology. I've been doing technology for last 10 or 12 years. And for last 3 years, I have started chairing the National Digital Health Advisory Board for National ACP. And during the pandemic, I was asked by both by ACP and AMA to develop modules online for telehealth practice, remote patient monitoring. You can look it online. Those modules were published in early part of pandemic. And AMA also requested ACP for me to join the validated device listing. So any device which are coming out in the market, which are FDA approved, we are building those libraries. So we just completed our blood pressure monitoring. We are looking into the other monitors and sensors. So more to come on that. And we are also looking into artificial intelligence and all. So making the long story short, whatever professional advancement I had in my career, I always found another professional home through ACP and representing AMA as well. So again, there are a lot of opportunities, not only at the state level or at the district level, but also at the national level. And from the education side, at the local or state level, myself and Parag, we have been giving ABIM maintenance of certification course for last maybe 10 or plus years, which also helped not only us for board recertification, but also meeting always wonderful people who educate us day to day. So again, whatever your career path is, whether on the education or on your administration or operations, you will find one way or the other, both at the national at the, and also at the local and the state level. Yeah.
Thank you, Bermacher. Dr. Simon.
Oh, so this is really great to hear. If it's okay, I won't take too long, but I'm going to tell 2 very brief stories about 2 different people that I think are, kind of interesting and taught me something. The first involves how I got involved with ACP. And in fact, I was asked by a person by the name of Larry Smith. I think many of you know Dr. Larry Smith. I'm not even sure if I was a member at this point. I probably was, although I don't really recall. I do know that I wasn't involved in any significant way. And he asked me to be the chair of the program planning committee for the New York ACP meeting, which at that time was in the Marriott Marquis in Times Square, and we had something like 550 people come attend. And he asked me to be the chair of the program planning committee, which was a little daunting, to say the least. But I will tell you, the story is less about Dr. Smith and more about another person who many of you knew, whose name was Michael Mazzolorso. And Michael, who is unfortunately no longer with us, had been the chair of the program planning committee the year before. And so one of the first things I did, I didn't know Michael actually very much at the time, and I called him up and I said, Dr. Mazzolorso, I'm chairing the meeting this year. I've really never done anything like this, and I don't know what to do. What do I need to know? And he said, Todd, it's 3 things: the chicken, the chicken, and the chicken. And I was like, what the hell do you mean by that? He said, turns out that if everybody likes the chicken that you serve at lunch, the meeting will be fine. And he was absolutely right. And what I learned from that is, number 1, food is very important. And number 2, you don't really have to sweat a lot of these other big things. They'll probably turn out to be okay. All you have to worry about is feeding people well and making people feel good. And the light stuff, the bigger stuff around, what speakers do we have, and how long are the talks going to? That'll work itself out. So don't worry about taking on the big tasks. That's my first bit of advice. And then the second story is about a guy who many of you, I think, will not know. In fact, I'd be very surprised if anybody knows this person. But there was an attending physician at Mount Sinai who worked in the medical clinic. And my first job out of residency at Sinai, they hired me to be an attending in the clinic. And this guy was a guy named Fernando Elihovich. And Dr. Elihovich was a primary care physician who had been working in the medicine clinic for a number of years and had actually developed by the way, thank you for summarizing my advice as serve good chicken. Thank you, Susan. There you go. Dr. Elihovich had developed an interest in hypertension. And he was not a cardiologist. He was not a nephrologist. He was a primary care guy. He was, like many, if not all of us, taking care of tons and tons of patients with high blood pressure. And he developed an interest in hypertension and kind of decided that he, as a primary care doctor, wanted to make that in his career. And long story short, he ended up leaving Sinai and taking a position in Galveston, Texas, as the founding medical director of a hypertension center in Texas. And before he left, Dr. Elihovich kind of grabbed me and pulled me aside and said, Todd, what is going to be your niche? And of course, once again, I said, well, what are you talking about? I think my niche is the chicken. But he said, what is, and he said, you need to find a niche. Find something that you're interested in. Find something that you can kind of make your thing, that you can specialize, that you can become expert at, whatever it may be that sets you apart. And that's going to be your thing, and that's going to be your niche. And honestly, at the time, I kind of said, oh, thank you very much, Fernando, and have fun in Texas. But the reality is that I thought about that a lot. And here it is, how many years later. And I honestly ended up deciding to make my niche to try to make my niche in medical education, so much so that I went back to school while I was working full-time as an attending at Mount Sinai and got a master's degree in education. And really helped, to boost my career, my knowledge, and everything, in that field. So my 2 pieces of advice to all of you in that short amount of time are: number 1, serve good chicken, and number 2, find your niche.
Thank you so much, Dr. Algaes.
Well, I certainly don't think I can top that. But it's interesting because I am, I've been in primary care pretty much my whole career and mostly in private practice. So the question is, how did I end up as governor of ACP, and how did I become a leader when I could have easily just stayed in my little practice and done my job and gone home and taken care of my kids? And there's two things, as I was thinking about the question, two things that I think drove me during that time. And one was that I never stopped teaching. I actually had a resident start in my private office before I did, because they had asked me from the residency program that when I came back and joined this practice, would I take a resident? And I said yes. And actually I came back in August and he started in July. So I've always taught residents and medical students in my office. There's plenty of programs that do that. And if your particular program doesn't put people in private offices, there's always somebody who will. So I've never lost connection with young physicians and physicians coming up. And I was always motivated and taught by them, and I was always able to keep up. The second thing was organized medicine. I didn't start in ACP. I actually started in my local medical society. My partner said they had a geriatrics interest group and would I join it? And he was involved in the board of the medical society, but I just decided, okay, fine. It's going to be like one meeting every quarter. It's not going to interfere with my family. I'll try it. And then shortly after that, maybe a few years later, I got a call from the president of the medical society saying, would you join the board of the medical society? And I said, well, I really can't. My kids are little and I don't have the time. And the meetings are once a month. I think that's more than I can handle. And he said, well, you know what? You don't have to go to every meeting. We want you on this board of directors. So, please take the job. And so I did. And initially my attendance was lousy. And then as my kids got more independent, it got more regular. And then I eventually became president of the medical society in my county. And when I finished it, I had the interaction that everybody's describing with Linda Lambert. She came to town looking for leaders, and she had a dinner with a lot of local leaders. And, she asked about, our interest. And I said, well, ACP's always been my professional home. And the only reason that I didn't get involved was I really didn't know how. Nobody ever asked. And so as soon as that dinner ended and she went back to Albany, the next thing I got was a call from Linda Lambert saying, I'm asking. And so my journey here started, and, to become governor was an incredible honor. I have to tell you, quietly, Ankita has asked me, what's it like to be a governor? What do you do? And, in New York, it's not difficult to be a governor. If you were in Oklahoma where there's no staff and you're doing it all on your own, it's a really big, difficult job. But in New York, we have this incredible staff. So what we get to do is go to meetings of the Board of Governors and get involved in National ACP and meet this family of people that's across the country and across the world. And it's been I'm in my last year, Parag's in his last year. It's been the experience of a lifetime to meet and get to know these people and to have friends literally all over the planet. I mean, when Brazil was in the throes of their horrible COVID epidemic at the beginning of the pandemic, in my governor class is the governor from Brazil, and I was in constant contact with him, trying to give him support. So the experience of being governor in ACP has literally been the highlight of my career. And I'm so glad that I stayed engaged with medicine, even at times in my career when that was difficult to do.
Thank you, Dr. Algaes. That was very well said. And I'm so glad that you were able to incorporate my question also, because many times we're not really sure what is a governor. So thank you. We have a question from one of our audience members, and I'm going to ask them to unmute themselves. So Dalgis Dunker, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. But
that was perfect. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Dalgis Dunker. I am a second year internal medicine resident at Mount Sinai in Morningside. Thank you for all the great advice that you've shared with all of us. So I was wondering, considering the limited flexibility during residency training, do you have any additional advice on how to better engage with the chapter during this career stage?
And I'm gonna add medical school training to that as well, or fellowship, and we'll keep it open to the panel of guests. If you could feel free to unmute and share your thoughts on how to juggle between time limitation, life that happens outside of work, and your desire to be part of ACP and New York ACP.
So I'll answer that question along with the other question which has been asked. That I faced that situation when I became the president of the resident fellow section. And there's a family, young children, calls for 2 days. Somehow you will learn to prioritize and select which one you want to attend. You'll find a friend and a mentor, and they will guide you that, hey, this is an important meeting which you should attend. Usually ACP will sponsor you. So believe it or not, as a resident, I have gone to the Washington, Albany, and many places. I don't know where I found the energy to drive post-call, but yes, that was another way. I have gone with my friends, and it just became easy and simple. I was thinking about that, what should I say? So the other question was that while you are trying to focus on your family, other people are moving ahead. There's nothing like that anybody is moving ahead. And there's just so much available which you can do. If you can just do one small task at a given time, you'll be doing a lot. So if you cannot attend all the meetings, attend one meeting. Choose that you want to go for the poster presentation. Choose that you want to go for the advocacy or something. Even if you do one thing, it'll be fine. Once you will get it, you'll get a kick out of it, and you don't want to miss anything. And answering the previous question that somebody's moving ahead, that's not true. And one more thing I'll say, and then I'll stop, that read, read, and read. If you can read books and make a habit that you're not going to go to the bed without reading 5 or 10 minutes, doesn't matter, it's on internet or any book, that will make your big difference in you. Think about your personal and professional growth when you're going, you'll be absolutely fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta.
You had your hand raised.
One of the other good opportunities for residents and students is to be engaged in the state and even national level poster competitions and the scientific meetings. Often those things, especially for the students, those are free, and it's a great opportunity to showcase your work. I'm sure your program directors would support you 1,000% to do that. It's an excellent way to get to meet lots of people from across the state and to advance your own career and even gain some recognition sometimes, depending upon whether your research gets accepted for presentation, et cetera.
A great addition, thank you. And then I have Dr. Lee and then Dr. Pomeranz.
And also for residents, if you can organize a doctor's dilemma team at your residency program, that is like super fun. And we have the competition at our chapter meeting, and then the winning team gets to go to national, and that's super fun. Again, the poster sessions. But really, you don't have to do every committee and every event. You can choose one. You can help, writing resolutions or research papers. I know that the geriatrics task force, they wrote and published a paper. So there are many opportunities in your downtime that you can get involved. And then the other thing I just want to say is that by being involved in our chapter at ACP, I have made lifelong friends, and I've met the smartest, most engaged people. And it's also helped me with promotion, because if you have speaking opportunities, you can put that on your, and committees, you can put that on your promotion packet. So that's another plug.
All right.
Go ahead, Dr. Pomeranz.
All right, so I'm not going to say the stuff that's already been said by my colleagues. I'll just, one thing, simple thing to remind yourself of, talking about something Parag said, just remember, comparison is the thief of joy. So, you don't have to do anything other than what you are doing that makes sense for you. Your path is your path. It's not anybody else's. And, once you get out of medical school, you're on your own path and you don't have to follow anybody else's. So find mentors who help you find your path. Don't find people who tell you where to go. Beyond that, look for opportunities to get involved in anything, even if it seems like it's too small. If it's helping you build connections to other people, that's good. And if that's what you've got room for, do that. If it's a district meeting, go to the district meeting. Meet somebody, learn about something that you didn't know before, meet somebody you didn't know before, find a project you want. If you're a medical student, you want to get to a meeting and you have time to write something or create a poster, do it. Poster gets accepted, you go to you go to somebody at your medical, you got to let me go to this meeting. I got this poster accepted. Same thing in residency. It's a great lever. I have public recognition. You got to let me go get recognized. Sometimes there's even funding for that. So those are, internal medicine interest groups at medical schools are a great way to find people. If you're a resident and you want to find some medical students who, go to the internal medicine interest group, see if you can help bring them along. So there are a lot of ways to get involved, and I'll stop.
Thanks, Dr. Pomeranz. And I think we have Dr. Bermacher next.
Yeah, I want to emphasize what has not been told yet or said yes. Those who are business savvy, I think investing your time in ACP has a very high return on investment. So please diversify your portfolio. I'm sure stock, especially last 2 months, the market is not doing very well, but you'll become more wiser. And this is a lifelong learning opportunity. I am so happy that I consider this is a great diversification of my personal and professional portfolio. I had a lot of opportunities for joining SHM and other or SGIM and other organization, but I thought this was a very good sweet spot for me. And I have been able to achieve many things easier, I would say. So please consider your time and energy a huge investment, those who are business savvy, and the return on investment will be a lifelong, trust me.
Thank you so much. Really, it's amazing and great to hear from all of you, our mentors and our leaders. And thank you for all who joined us. This was an amazing meeting and I really appreciate your time. And Ankita, any last words? Because we're going to say, we were supposed to end at 7 and 7:02, so I don't want to take anybody's more evening. So, but thank you. Reach out to us and get joined with NYACP. Any committee you want to be, we are early careers, so we are more than happy to help you, support you any way we can.
Well said, Javier. I will just add that I think this meeting has the best quotes, so we should be posting that out loud.